One thing I don't like about our generation is we think sex means penetration and that's about it.
Today's guest is every Indian parent's dream child.
Because I've grown up in many different cultures. I happen to be in I as well. And so for a lot of people, that's also like a conquest when it's said.
She has an Ivy League degree. ऊपर से गाना भी गाती है.
दिल में तूफान उठाते हुए जज्बात की रात.
Basically, she's what any parent would want their kid to marry and what every dating app algorithm has no idea what to do with.
Because I leveled up at the mid-lift. And my sense of self-worth, man, cratered. It took a long time to rebuild.
I don't know who deserves this certified lover girl, but today we're gonna try and find out.
I'm like, if my grandma born in 1933 just had so much space to be herself. And I realized it's less about how you meet the person, but how you choose to build.
Hello and welcome back to Love Handle, where we get unfiltered about love and relationships. Today I couldn't be more pleased to be joined by Avanti. Welcome, Avanti. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Yes, we are. And I want to start off by understanding what space you're in currently with your love life. What's been happening?
I am currently, for the first time, I guess, actively looking. And it's a different muscle that you have to use.
Also,
I think I'm just pre-evaluating people before even getting into a relationship rather than get into a relationship and figure it out. Mm-hmm. I'm currently also building a bunch of things, and because I'm in founder mode, hiring mode, I find myself applying the same principles to dating, which is not so. Because literally the other day, I was like, yeah, I'm meeting people through XYZ realms, and I'm just now, increasing my top of funnel and lesion and understanding the ecosystem. And they're like, you are talking about humans that you are potentially dating. This is not hiring. Yeah.
So if you were to write the JD of your ideal future partner,
there's obviously certain aspects of compatibility, et cetera, that matter. But at the end of the day, it's less about the other person initially. And it's more about how do you feel in their energy and presence. My way of defining the difference is some people seek partnership, and some people want a partner in crime. And I want a partner. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the difference is a partner is someone who adds to your life, but a partner in crime is someone you build.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you don't have like necessarily a strict checklist for exactly what you're looking for.
Yes.
But how would you like to feel in the presence of someone who could potentially be your partner?
I think I'm paying attention to am I anxious or not? And again, someone who truly wants to show up and support someone, not just because you seem like a shiny object, but deeper. What does that mean? Because I've grown up in many different cultures, a lot of people find that very interesting, appealing. I happen to be in I as well. And so for a lot of people, that's also like a conquest when it's said, and to me, that needs to be filtered out, like immediately, right? Because you don't want to be an interesting story to tell. You want to be the story someone builds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And sometimes what I notice is that men will get excited about the glittery idea of being with, this girl looks kind of like American and she's kind of has an accent or whatever. And whereas I'm really approaching with the intention of I'd love to have a long-term relationship, this sort of exotification of my identity makes me more like a conquest, like you said, or a notch in one's belt, a stop along the way, as opposed to the end destination or someone, a wife that they would want to bring home like to their family necessarily, right?
I don't think it's because of will you take somebody whom you want to marry. It's more who they'll have to become to keep up with the life you have built and want to build together. That scares them away. Mm-hmm. A lot of the women in our generation have arrived, right? We've been empowered with the ability to be very independent in our thinking, financially, emotionally, otherwise, right? And I think, unfortunately, men have not been afforded the same space to grow in emotional intelligence, right? In the ability to show up equitably for somebody else. And this is not blaming men by any panels. It's blaming a system that doesn't allow most men to be in touch with their emotions and are seen as lesser than and weak. if they do. It's this kind of system that doesn't allow them to express their interests and like lean into hobbies and lean into things that we naturally allow women to traditionally life and they're traditionally feminine. And so you're not able to express yourself in these ways. And so you grow up being more modeled up, you grow up with a lack of agency, just in a very different way.
So basically them feeling that inadequacy so deeply that they would rather walk away from something amazing than like do the work or figure out how they need to like get there to.
And I've always been like, look, let's figure this out together. And I noticed some previous partners I had, eventually insecurities came out. And so I can sniff insecurity from a mile. Like, all right, so but like, if I feel like that's the case, I'm just not even going to entertain this. But I go past that, and I met people who, for example, they will say that they don't care if their partner is German, but they also equally don't care. Like, they don't care about partner's German, which is a good thing, right? Because they're like, okay, I'm not threatened by that, I'm not insecure. But it also means that they really don't care, in the sense that if somebody chooses not to do anything in life, or somebody chooses to want to build everything in life, it's it's all the same. I'm realizing what I want. I have that criteria is someone who feels inspired by me and I feel inspired by it. And it doesn't have to be because of what we do, but it's because of who we are as people and how we think us being together will help us grow into the best version of ourselves.
For sure. I think you've identified that if ambition and drive is a core value in yourself, presumably the right person would value ambition equally and would thus seek a partner who shares that.
And they may not have to be ambitious in the same way, right? I guess some of the things that I'm more attracted to is, do you have pursuit of a mission? Have you pursued excellence in some way? Do you care about impact? Or do you have the tools and capacity to support someone who deeply does, right? And that I think is the core.
You mentioned that you were on dates recently, especially dating in India.
Oh my God.
Tell me more. Like, are there any crazy stories or specific anecdotes that or lessons that you've taken away from these few months?
Culturally, my most recent serious partner was Indian American and never really lived here, grown up here. And I found that his cultural context was actually way more regressive than people who grown up to it, right? And I think that's because people who are in diaspora tend to be stuck in what I call cultural fleets. They're frozen in time at the time which their parents recruited. And so that was very interesting to me. Like his
So what specifically was particularly more regressive than some?
I think his parents were lovely, but I think the community that surrounded his family was just like archaic ideas you would think of, like partnership and all sorts of things. But they were like, oh, the more successful she gets, the more you're gonna have to compromise. As opposed to that's an amazing thing, right?
Probably an older version of it. Like you said, a woman being more career-oriented, more successful, but basically she will be more difficult to oppress, or more difficult to fit into the molds that we're trying really hard to fit women into. And I want to know from your end, because so many of the women in your family are highly educated as men, and yet in the world, a woman being more educated is like almost seen as a bad thing in the marriage context.
All my grandparents very educated, my grandmas in particular. All four of them met in medical school. They all had love marriages, which is why my family is very multicultural. They're from Jammu, Punjab, Maharashtra, Karnataka. So, all-purpose idiot. And my grandma was a burglar. My auntie was a breadwinner, always saved with money. And that was conscious choice also, which leaned in partnership. And I saw that it worked out. I think it's what shaped my dad a lot growing up in terms of how he chose to raise his daughter. So I'm really grateful. And yeah, seeing that as the baseline, I'm like, if my grandma born in 1933 can be the provider, it's not just a provider, right? Like, just had so much space to be herself. And it wasn't about the monetary aspect of it. Like, my grandpa was amazing. He chose to devote himself to more service, right? And he built what he did not in money, in goodwill, right? But there's a space to just be like, yeah, we're just willing to stick together. This just makes more sense. Cool, whatever. And I realized it's less about how you meet the person, but how you choose to build, right? And so I think in the recent past become more open to different ways of dating people, as dating apps, matchmaking, whatever it might be, where I would have been more closed off because I felt a contract to me. I was like, no, it'll happen. I'm very social. I meet all these people all the time. They will appear. But I'm just like, you know what? It's actually about finding people and pre-filtering people who might choose to want to build, right? And that's why I think some sort of matchmaking services, apps, and things are useful when you know that they have this precondition of at least everyone out here is actively looking or actively hoping intentionally to build something, right? People around you, engaged, married, all first. I have a friend, we're best friends from high school. He's part of this list. He and I are maintaining a list of everyone in our batch who is engaged or married or pregnant. Yeah,
That's tried.
it's like someone child gave birth to a child like last month. And so we had this full list, I think 50, and we only had 150. So it's like a third of our class is down, whatever that means, right? China. We already had 2 divorces, 2 separations. So we've seen the gamut, right? And we keep maintaining this list, and it's kind of funny. To me, it's not, oh my God, this person's getting engaged and getting married because I want a proposal or a wedding. I couldn't care less. Like, that would be really cool with the right person. Let's say you're building something, right? It doesn't work out. It's amazing because you learn so much, and it will only help you in your next job. It's not the same thing like a relationship, right? Relationships feel like you're back at zero.
But you're not the same person you were.
You're not the same person. That is true. And that's what I have to keep reminding myself, that I now am more evolved human. But for some people, it's a nice to have. For some people, it's a need. Some people, it's a desire. And it can be, honestly, it's a need and a desire. And it was rare for me to admit that for a while.
Yeah, it's so interesting. We talk often about how so many of us now, and I think about this for myself too, have really rich relationships, beautiful friendships, a beautiful family, a fulfilling career, and hobbies outside of my professional life. Yeah. So to me, my plate does feel full, and it's easy to become jaded or disillusioned to the idea that, well, do I even want a partner? Do I necessarily need one? And is there such a person out there who can kind of occupy that space? Personally, this is not the case for everyone, but I have accepted a reality in which a partner isn't a part of my future. Like, I have to make peace with the fact that I would be perfectly okay and happy in either outcome.
Yeah.
We talk a lot about, I say this all the time, but like the right person coming into your life will have you blossom. Like, you sparkle differently. Like, I think we've all seen our friends who, as soon as they meet the right person, they glow different, you know? And they're calm, and they're like able to take bold risks in all areas of life because they have such a sturdy backbone.
And my parents, man, my parents are lovebirds. Like, it's crazy. They've been together 31 years. The longest time they've been apart is 10 days. Okay? And that's because my mom lived on a trek and my dad has no desire to be close to nature.
Okay.
Otherwise,
fair enough.
Otherwise, they're inseparable in a way that is not unhealthy. It's not unhealthy. It's like beautiful to see, right? And they've been able to. I think that love that they have for each other is supercharged.
The version that I am when I'm in love is a person that I really, really like, and I think it's closer to my hottest version.
Absolutely.
When I'm being loved and when I am loving. More than being loved, I think to be in a state of giving love.
Yeah, giving love, but you can't give love to something just because you need a vessel for it, right? That person should equally give to you.
That's true.
So I had a 6-year-long relationship that ended. And when that ended, that was my first ever relationship. I had to also deal with the public backlash, all sorts of things. It was a dark time. That did not compare by even a fraction of what I felt from my year and a half relationship. And and it was so bizarre because I was like, that's interesting. And then I tried to rationalize it. I was like, okay, the 6-year-old relationship ready or whereas of course I had seen like a little bit of potential, like whatever, maybe I agree with the potential. And yeah, I think it's because in the last one, I'd finally let myself imagine the true future, and we discussed it and had planned. Yeah, it was like getting to a point where we're ready to turn it in that way. And I don't know, I could perhaps the way that it ended, the blindsiding, the 180 that I felt, also felt reminiscent of my first relationship ending. It just felt like, okay, it's a pattern. And it is even made me question my sense of self-worth. And unfortunately, I don't think this was a real reason. But in both my relationships, when they ended, I was quote unquote leveling up in some way professionally, and they happened to enter at the same time. And my brain obviously made the association that it's because I leveled up that the men left. Every time I level up, the man leaves. So it was my narrative. And my brother was like, actually, I don't think that's true. They just happened to have, like, it just happened to be at the same time. It was coincidence. But it was hard, and my sense of self-worth, man, cratered. It took a long time to rebuild. And I was grieving for a while. And you grieve multiple things, right? When a relationship ends, you grieve the person. You grieve the version of the person you thought they were and their potential. You grieve the life you'd envisioned together. You grieve the version of yourself that you were with them. There's just like so many different aspects and parts to it. And yeah, it's a lot. Yep. It's a lot. And you'd be grateful for the support system that I had. That really helped me get through it. And I think in my first relationship, because of what I had to deal with so intensely, I didn't let myself fully process that. So I said I processed and then probably bottled up everything else. And then the second relationship ended, a lot of action about that too. So I felt like I had to grieve the last 10 years, honestly, of my romantic life all at once. And I let myself feel, and I let myself just sit with those feelings or hate months. And that meant crying myself to sleep every night. That's what it meant. And so it's really just a testament to your capacity to love and hold space and feel deeply. And those are things to be celebrated, right? And so grieving is something that should also be celebrated. So, yeah.
I think what the beautiful thing about time, though,
Yeah.
what time has taught me since my breakup was that how healing the passage of time is if you choose to lean into feeling the emotions, and how gradually healing doesn't look like something overnight, but it is something that you grow to live with for a time.
Yeah.
And then you start to befriend it,
Yeah.
and you recognize that, that's a part of who I am, and the burden becomes more manageable.
My definition of break up now is you breaking down to build up, but you have to really let yourself break down first.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah.
And you mentioned your self-worth.
Yes.
And that's the thing with these relationships ending, is that it can really break down your identity and self-esteem, especially when you tied it up so much in another person.
Absolutely.
And every time this has happened to me, and every time I've had to fucking face myself and ask myself, like, who am I? Like, I've forgotten who I am.
Yeah.
And then I get to answer it. I get to go embark on this journey of becoming a person that I really want to be for myself. Like, I think about my mom, who moved to a whole nother country to, build a family and a life with her husband, and she's not Indian, right? That's a sacrifice, but at no point did she lose herself. But the life that she did build was the one that she wanted, and she did it on her terms.
Exactly.
As opposed to, oh gosh, I'm in this marriage now, and now I just have to suck it up and, I guess, make my life smaller, or my dreams for my life smaller.
Yeah.
I think that's the difference.
I think it's also, for example, I would, with previous partners, be like, oh my God, they're choosing to, for example, move, right? Or whatever.
Or leave a career, or change it. Yeah.
Change something, right? It often was a small thing.
Okay.
But the biggest thing was a move, typically. And my family was like, they're not doing you a favor. In all of those cases, actually, it's what helped build their careers, to be very honest. But that notwithstanding, they're like, someone actively chooses to do these things out of joy. My mom was like, I actively chose, she was in New York at the time, my dad was in Boston, to move to Boston to build a life with your dad because that's something I actively wanted to do. And so you can't feel like, oh my God, they've done this one thing, so now you'll overlook everything else. And that's the thing, right? That's why I keep saying it's about building. It's not this person has done this thing for you. How are you both meeting each other where you both need to be? And whatever that looks like emotionally, logistically, practically for each other's families, like it's so important to me to come at it with that, right? I think I valued safety and being just emotionally supported. But then I realized emotional support is not just someone listening to your emotions and validating them, it's taking action. And now it's really important for me. You say something to me, it's white noise. You do something, that's the real test. And that's a hard one because I don't know what your primary love language is. Mine is physical touch. And hard for someone who's almost always been in long distance relationships. That's why I sleep with a stuffed animal. And, it's like what I need.
Same thing.
Woman after my own heart.
Yes.
But I think for me, it was, let's say you're having a tough conversation. It was someone reaching out their hand and holding it. And while that's important and that was how I needed to see love, it just goes so much more beyond that, right? And I think it's just understanding where those pieces come from and how that action shows up and manifests in every part of life.
Yeah. Given that your grandparents are all medical practitioners and you were raised in a much more open, refreshingly, you've been very outspoken about talking about intimacy and sex. How has that played into your own love life and your relationship with yourself and others?
I think it's allowed me to know myself very well in all senses of the word. And so I find that there's a lot of people who, men included, just don't know themselves and what they like. I'm very communicative, where I'm always asking what they like. Often they don't know. So we will figure that out together. Similarly, I'm like, hey, we need to get to know each other's minds, emotions, and bodies. And those are all three different things, right? I've just been appalled at the number of people who just don't know what they're doing. And not just from a skill perspective, just like, what is the point of this even for you, right? And let's identify where that comes from. And especially it's funny because people who claim to be very experienced will often be the most
closed off.
And so, I think that's really important. I think it's really important that everybody understands themselves, their bodies, their agencies, right from your anatomy. Do you actually know where all your body parts are, especially the ones that give you pleasure? Have you spent time discovering that for yourself or with a partner? That should be an active discovery, right? And I think that's really, really important. If you are a partner who has a partner who's a woman, please cuddle them afterwards. It matters.
Please don't just get up and walk
away. Exactly.
No, it's true.
I think when I first was intimate, because it was with a partner I was with for a very long time, I thought must be in love to be intimate. Then my definition changed. I was like, okay, I need to feel safe to be intimate. And I think that's stayed consistent, right? Like anybody, but it's also an act of exploration, and I think so much of it was unlearning shame.
Being able to be playful,
joyful, all sorts of things, whatever it means to you. Living in that space and allowing yourself to occupy. But I think the thing that stayed consistent for me is constantly knowing my own body well. And that's really important.
Interesting.
Yeah. One thing I don't like about our generation is we think sex means penetration and that's about it, right? Every act that is intimate in engaging with someone's body is that. And it can be whatever you want it to be, right? And, this idea of foreplay, for example, it's not just in a bedroom. It's generally that connection. And it
could be intellectual.
Absolutely. I think everyone needs to just listen to their gut, right? And for me, when it came to a lot of these topics, even though my grandparents are medical doctors, even though my parents were perhaps more open-minded than others, it still wasn't a proper conversation at home until I was 19, and I brought it up and made sure. And part of that was because I wanted my brother to grow up in a space that was open-minded. And so whenever I've thought through these decisions, I've almost parented myself in the sense that, what would I tell my child, right? Would I tell them, for example, I would say hey, if you feel ready to date or have sex or whatever it is, do you truly understand the social factors like consent around it, and do you understand the consequences? And if you're prepared to actually deal with the consequences, go ahead. If you're not, if there's even a part of you that doesn't think that you're ready to deal with the consequences, that should be a second thought, right?
Yeah. It's a responsibility.
It's a responsibility. And I think to me, it was just empowering myself with, do I feel responsible enough for this? And that this is not sex. Anybody can enter anything into like whatever, right? Like you see, it's knowing how that would fundamentally emotionally change me as a human being and with whom, right? Which is why for me, it's less about I need to be in this era of say, withhold and my body, but it's rather, do I want to energetically exchange with this person because do I feel like this will have a certain consequence, not just on my body, but
your soul,
my soul, my mind.
It is an energetic exchange. It really is. And it's a decision that I think one shouldn't take lightly.
No.
Especially for women.
Yeah.
But overall, for everyone.
Absolutely. I think it is for men, and that comes back to the point of we don't even allow them to express that. So they think very much like, I got to think with my dick. And it's like, no, that directly implicates your heart.
Right.
Whether you realize it or not, or whether you realize it too late in life.
Yeah. Lovely place to close.
On the dick. Are we shifting to another space? Okay.
We are.
Got it.
They say.
They say. Who is they?
The proverbial they say that art imitates life.
True.
And for art to imitate life, you have to have a life.
Yes.
And live a life and experience a life.
Very correct.
So that you can create art.
Yes.
And as an artist, sometimes your life may also imitate your art.
Absolutely.
How has your craft affected your love life?
Well, it's been the catharsis to it.
Yeah. The release.
The release. A lot of my songs have been inspired by several muses. But more importantly, I think it has been the soundtrack to things, right? Like when one of my long-term relationships ended, I found myself listening to sad breakup songs three months before it did. And I should have seen that as a foreshadowing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's almost like a internal litmus test of how you're feeling. What kind of music you gravitate towards.
What kind of music you gravitate towards.
Yeah.
In my last serious relationship, I did not write a single song. And it's okay. Versus like the situationship I was in before that.
Just like flowing.
I wrote oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow. I think it just tells you a lot about the depth. Literally, when that relationship ended, my partner at the time was like, because of me, you couldn't even write a song. And I was like, no, it's not that, but it's the, I think it does definitely
It's the emotional state you're in.
It's the emotional state you're in, yeah.
I think love and especially heartbreak is a powerful creative fuel.
It is. It is. And it's an important grief channel too. I think listening to music.
The act of creation. It stimulates your vagus nerve too.
Yeah.
So it activates your parasympathetic nervous system, calms you down, regulates your nervous system too. So it's magic, but that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to sing. So in that spirit,
okay.
I will say a word, and I'd like for you to sing a song that immediately comes to your mind when I say this word.
Oh,
and
man.
we'll start super easy,
Okay.
and then we'll go up in levels.
Damn. Okay. Heartbreak.
Too many. There's too many. But one of my favorites. मुझे तुम नजर से गिरा तो रहे हो मुझे तुम कभी भी भुला ना सकोगे.
That's so beautiful.
Thank you.
Of course.
Yes.
I wrote a song on consent.
You did?
It's called Permission. Oh, I wanna go there. I can see it in your stare now. Yeah. Let's go to the first rule. Show your daddy he taught you. Consent is a real cool. We can speed it up or slow it down. No more circles, no more going round. Give you the green light and say it loud. If you want it, just say you want it. Come and get my permission. Ooh, you don't gotta be so shy. Hi, 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 hi. It won't mess up the rhythm. Ooh, we be feeling just right. Hi, 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 hi. Fun backstory, I researched the average BPM of bedroom playlist songs.
And then you picked that.
We picked that as the rhythm. We wanted it to be the
Nice.
average thrusting rhythm. Because we wanted this to be the kind of song you would like listen to when you're in the mood and then be like, oh, it's telling me to give a green light. It's telling me to ask something. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, awesome.
There's an old Hindi song I love that talks about seeing a woman in the rain and like falling in love. You might know it. जिंदगी भर नहीं भूलेगी वो बरसात की रात एक अनजान हसीना से मुलाकात की रात जिंदगी भर नहीं भूलेगी हाय वो रेशमी जुल्फों से बरसता पानी फूल से गालों पे रुकने को तरसता पानी दिल में तूफान उठाते हुए दिल में तूफान उठाते हुए जज्बात की रात जिंदगी भर नहीं भूलेगी.
I think I'm in love. Thank you so much for watching another episode of Love Handle. If you enjoyed the video, do be sure to hit subscribe, share it with your friends, like it, and leave in the comment section what you'd like for us to ask Avanti next time. See you later. Bye.